Welcome to Freedom from Fire. As always, we've got a glimpse into the Philadelphia Fire Department and how we operate. Today, we're celebrating Women's History Month with a conversation about what it's like to be a woman in a historically male-dominated field. And we'll share stories from some of these women next on Freedom from Fire. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I'm your host, firefighter Camila Bayete-Taylor. I am currently stationed in our department's Fire Prevention and Code Division, where community risk reduction efforts are a primary goal. Here at Freedom from Fire, we aim to improve your quality of living by giving you fire and life safety information. We also introduce you to our local safety partners and department leaders. Being a woman in a male-dominated field can be a challenge, especially when historically women weren't even allowed to join the PFD. In the early 1900s, the only women working in our department were called matrons, women whose husbands died in the line of duty. These women cleaned the stations and made around $90 a year. We didn't hire a female firefighter until 1985. Now, in 2024, we have more women than ever. Still, in our 3,000-strong department, less than 400 of us are women. Today, we're celebrating Women's History Month with a conversation between myself and two of those women, Lieutenant Lisa Desamore and paramedic Amanda Lynch. All right, so let's start off by learning a little bit about each other. All right, okay. I'm gonna welcome you both to the show.
Thank you.
All right, so first, Lieutenant Desamore, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to the PFD.
Okay, so disclaimer, I do not have a super cool story, which I always love hearing from folks in the department. They have, either a relative in the department or they saw some cool movie that, they wanted to emulate the character in the movie. For me, it was just one of those regular days where I just happened to meet up with the recruiter at the right time. So initially it wasn't something that I was taking seriously. Fast forward, decided to, hey, maybe this is something to look into. So kind of went through the motions with the application process, then came the academy. And at that time, I had a young son, now I have two. And I say this all the time, he kind of went through the academy with me. I mean, I was coming home every day with some sort of story or adventure of the day, but I'll save that for a few moments. But Camila, tell us a little bit about you as well.
Oh, well, about myself, well, you kind of touched on it. Yours actually is a cool story. I've heard that story a couple times too. People who have come into the department, kind of like something just happened one day. They met somebody and they tried out the career. Okay. For me, it was a little bit like what you touched on in terms of the other stories. So when I was, well, I won't go into how old I was at the time, but I saw a movie. I went to see a movie with my oldest sister. The movie was Backdraft. Okay. And I saw that movie, and at the end of the movie, I'm like, oh my goodness, like that's what I want to do.
Awesome.
And that was a long time ago. I'm 6 years on now. About 8 years ago, I heard that the department was recruiting. My brother had actually become a firefighter, sometime before that.
Okay.
I'm just living out what I thought would be my career. And so I found out through him they were recruiting, and I said, well, remember that dream you had all those years ago? And so I knew if I was going to do it, now's the time to do it. It's an opportunity.
That is awesome. Yeah. I love that story. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So paramedic Lynch, what about you?
It's kind of the same where like it was a dream I always had, and then one day the pieces just sort of aligned. I'm originally from New York. My family's in the fire department there. I lost my uncle. He was a fireman in 9/11. Yeah, so and then my grandpa was also a fireman who passed in 2019 of 9/11 related cancers. So I've always been around it, and I've seen what it's like, and just kind of grew up in that like fire department family atmosphere. My grandpa worked on like the political side, like post 9/11, like advocating for better communication systems for firefighters and stuff. So I got really into the politics, and that's what I went to school for. In the meantime, I got my EMT license as kind of just something to do on the side. And while I was working in politics, I was volunteering, and I was like, I really like this. I really like being hands-on, and feeling like I was actually making a difference in someone's day.
That's important.
With our healthcare system, like we can't fix everything, but we can do something.
Yeah,
Every day. So during COVID, I kind of ended up in Philadelphia, and the same thing through word of mouth. I heard that the fire department was hiring. I heard they were only hiring medics though.
Okay.
So I got in touch with the right people, and I came here to go to medic school. And then fortunately it just, one day I came down to making that decision, like, okay, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to go this way or this way? Right. And I put in an application. So I got in the fire department as an EMT. Okay. And then my 1 year was up in December this year, and I was just promoted to paramedic.
Awesome.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, congrats. Yeah, that's an amazing story. Another one of those amazing stories, man. That's really incredible.
Everyone in this department has an amazing story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, like, once you decided to come into the PFD, what it was like. When did you go through the academy, and what was that experience like for you?
Very interesting experience, as I'm sure everyone in the department has, male or female. However, for me, it was 19 years ago, so quite some time. I remember getting stationed after graduating, obviously, from the academy, and then periodically you go back up to the academy for some sort of refresher training, and I would get stomach knots. It was just like, this place. And stomach knots for like days, actually. Obviously, it's different now. There was a total of, I want to say, maybe 7 or 6 of us at that time in the class. We had a really large class. I loved the camaraderie. I did not know what to expect, as I'm sure most folks, you don't know what you're going into, the day-to-day, operations, so to speak, of being in the academy. So it was difficult, it was challenging. I will not minimize any of that, but, and it might kind of sound corny, but it was definitely rewarding. We would all have our quote unquote picks of, what instructors we like and who was our favorite and, what classes we thought we did well in. And of the women, we were a pretty tight-knit group, and I love that. And I think women in general, when you're in those types of situations where, you're kind of somewhat struggling, you kind of band together. I think that's just something that's innate in women, and I love that.
Yeah, you kind of have to get through something like that, right? Yeah. So what about you?
So my class actually, I think, was majority women. I started in December of 2022. Yeah, December 2022. Yeah. Our academy is a bit shorter than the fire academy. Said majority women, but it was same thing. There was enough women where, like, anyone that was going through anything, there was someone else in the group who had been through, something that you've been through. So someone was always giving advice. Someone was always helping each other out. You're separated into platoons. You make your friends. I was B1. My best friend is B2 now. We're like inseparable. But no matter what, we were all just like helping each other out all the time. It didn't even matter if you weren't friends. It was very like, hey, we're all in this together. Everyone's different background. Some people have kids, moving from across the country, So it was like, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but the camaraderie of it,
Yeah, it's the banding together, the womanhood, sisterhood of the traveling pants. I probably jacked that all up, but I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's like we all got through something hard together.
Yeah.
But it was, I feel like as a woman, you kind of, when you go into situations like this stuff, it's kind of like, okay, well, can they do it? It's questioned a bit more of the men. So when you really get through all through together, it's like, not only did we did it, but we all got through it together. and we did better than some of the men in it. So.
Isn't it the best when you recognize that? Like, wow, I actually did. And I think it comes as a bit of a surprise to some women, and I can't wait for the day when it's like, oh, it's no big deal. Yeah, I did better than him. Because, I mean, just because, you know, you're female and he's male doesn't necessarily take you off the chart, so to speak, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I mean, there's certain, just being a woman and going through that with other women. We had 10 in our class. I think it was 8 of us that completed the academy. But I mean, there are even times where we're going through something and we go back to our locker rooms, we're just looking at each other and just like, without words. Oh, yes. We all know, like,
oh yes, I remember those days.
Yes.
I remember those days.
Yes. So so much that we could say about those. So, did you face any specific challenges in the academy or even in your career, being a woman that you can discuss with us?
When you talk about challenges for women in this career, I think we can equate that in so many different ways. But what comes to mind, I think, first for me is you always hear the stories of, you know, a female being in a station and maybe not getting along with other folks, males in the station. Thankfully, I was blessed throughout my career. Now, I'm not saying everything was, you know, roses and peaches and cream every day. However, the men that I worked with, although were a much older age bracket, they were surprisingly very accepting. And I think it was more so too after them seeing how I handled or conducted myself within the station and with other folks, you know, in the platoon, and even on the fire ground. And I think some people say, kind of put off like, oh, did you feel the need to be accepted? I think with that, everyone has a different perspective. I will say for my perspective, it was like, yeah, I didn't have anything, you know, I didn't feel any type of, you know, negative way or curl a lip or, you know, raise an eyebrow. It was like, listen, I'm here, I can do this, and I'm gonna show you, I can do it.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that. What about you? What about you, Amanda?
I think on the EMS side, it's a little bit harder because we're not, like, it's just 2 of us. You might not even have a partner, so you might be on your own, and, you know, you're not in with the group. You're not, like, you know, on the fire side, you're working as a group constantly. For us, it's not like that, especially because they move us around so much. So for me, it was a little bit harder to get in, but just to be like, hey, I'm you know, here to do my job. I show up, I work hard. I take a bit of pride in it because you know, if we're on a fire ground and one of our firemen gets hurt, like, I want them to feel safe and confident that I'm going to take care of them, you know, and I'm going to do a good job. I remember the first time that someone looked to me and, like, we actually got to work together and get something done. And then they were I got my first good job. I was like, yes, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All over your face.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, we're going to take a short break, but we'll continue our Women's History Month conversation when we return.
As birthplace to the first volunteer fire companies, Philadelphia is home to one of the nation's premier fire museums. Fireman's Hall Museum displays the city's fire history in addition to promoting fire safety. You can visit Fireman's Hall Museum in Old City at 147 North 2nd Street. Visit firemanshallmuseum.org to learn more, or watch the museum's show, Curator's Corner, on LaSalle TV.
Dear University of...
Thank you for your offer.
To become student ID number 283471.
While I appreciate your desire
For my impeccable academic record,
I must decline the opportunity.
to get a generic degree,
I've decided to tell my story.
To be a student.
not a statistic.
I wish you good luck in the future.
As I embark on mine.
I drive 65,000 miles each year in my bus. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. You don't want to be in the blind spot of a 40,000-pound bus when I have less than a second to react. I do what I can by changing lanes or taking turns slowly. It really helps when people look out for me too. Give me room to operate safely. It's our roads, it's our safety.
Everyone has a community, a neighborhood, school, kids' teams, where you worship, work out, or any other place or group where you choose to belong. Communities can provide support when you need it, and even when you don't know you do. Like when it comes to preventing underage drinking and other substance use. Community members can be your eyes and ears when you're not with your kids and alert you to signs of potential problems.
Welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I'm your host, firefighter Camila Bayete Taylor. Today, we're celebrating Women's History Month by having a conversation with a couple of dedicated women from the PFD, Lieutenant Lisa Desamore and paramedic Amanda Lynch. All right, so before we were talking a little bit about the challenges and all those types of things. Now, flipping to the other side of that, what keeps you going? What keeps you going day to day? And can you talk about anything in particular that motivates you?
Do you want to take this one first, Amanda?
Oh, sure. A big part of it is I have met so many women in this department that like just inspire me to do better, like be better myself, to work out harder, to get involved in different things. Like, and there's so much to learn from everybody. I love coming to work and I love seeing my girls. You know, we got our workout groups, we chat.
Nice.
Like, I love that part because being younger, like some of them are older than me, and I've just got so much to learn from them, and I admire them so much for all the hard work that they've put in because they've made it possible for me to get here. The other part of that is so many of our patients are women. And specifically, like I've been in the Kensington area for the past year. There's a lot of violence against women, sexual, physical, or even just, you know, women with like past, where if I can have the opportunity, it might not even be a medical emergency, but if I can have the opportunity to make one woman patient like feel a little bit safer, or I can relate in some way, that's those days where like if you're burnt out, if you're tired, that's what makes it a little bit worth it for me. Sometimes it's just holding a hand, but if I can get another woman through that and be like, hey, I can relate, or I'm here and I'm listening to you, if I could just even make you feel safer by me being in the back instead of, you know, the fireman or the male EMT partner, that's a big, like, rewarding thing for me in this job.
That is awesome.
That's great. I mean, we're talking about where the department was in 1985 when we hired the first female firefighter in this department, or female in this department, and where we are now, but why it's so important that females are on this job.
Absolutely.
Specifically for reasons just like that.
Another thing is, too, is that there's not, so, like, certain medical things, they present differently in women than men.
Oh, yeah.
So another thing I love advocating for is like listening to women. I mean, we're in the medical field. Women aren't really listened to. They're not studied a whole bunch. So if I can even advocate there, like, okay, maybe this is more than, you know, than just a stomach ache. Maybe there's something actually wrong here.
Yeah.
Good.
And, you know, keep them from sitting in the waiting room, or take their
good.
complaints seriously.
So good.
We need more of that everywhere.
Yes.
Keep that perspective
Yes.
and make sure you put that out there as well. I love that. That's awesome. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Camilla's
Thank
loving
you.
this.
Thank
She's loving
you.
this. That's awesome. I think initially for me, what motivated me was my kids, and the fact that I was in the community serving in which I live. That was always, you know, just, it felt good. It really does. I mean, sometimes people think, you know, it sounds mawkish or it sounds sappy or something like that, but I think when you are in it and you're involved and you recognize, you know, your contributions and say, wow, this made something better, such as you holding someone's hand or, you know, listening to them tell their story. I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, I'll speak to just, you know, for me, what motivates me, as you said, your kids, family, for me as well. You know, I have nieces and nephews who, a lot of them look to me or look up to me, you know, for various reasons. And, you know, I always think about whatever I'm doing, you know, people say like, what would you do if so-and-so was looking at you? I was thinking, what would I do if they were looking at me? Right. And that has helped me along the way. And recently married as well, and that, yeah, thank you. And that teaches me a lot just about dying to self, sacrifice, and those are things that like translate into this career as well as life in general. So
I think it's cool that we can all take something personal and kind of relate it or make it some kind of relation rather to, you know, doing something better. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So what advice would you have for young women looking to enter this career in the PFD or in EMS service, fire EMS?
That is an amazing question, and it sounds so simple, but I think it holds so much weight, especially for those who are serious about entering, you know, the PFD, whether it's to become a firefighter, a medic, EMT. I think the best piece of advice I could give is just to remain consistent, being true to yourself. Remaining consistent and being true to yourself as it relates to, you know, what are your goals, your personal goals? You know, for Amanda, you know, initially it was, you know, a completely different aspect. And then she started volunteering and she, you know, she connected some dots and recognized, I'm going to say, dare I say, a greater passion in EMS. And I think when we remain consistent and don't lose sight of that, because a lot of times you can be, you know, kind of knocked off the pillar when you're in this world, so to speak, you know. So yeah, remaining consistent, staying true to yourself, you know, don't let anyone knock you off balance. Stand strong. You got this.
I like that. I like that. All right, and Amanda, can you add to that?
I second staying true to yourself. I think it's very easy to feel pressure to like conform to certain things, to like fit in. But I promise you, if you are yourself, you will find some really incredible people who lift you up and help you every day. So that and like you said, with consistency, I think how you do one thing is how you do everything. That's something that the department really like. They push that in the academy, and you know you're kind of like, all right, whatever. then you get that, and you actually see it, and you can tell in people like how they do the little tiny small things is how they do everything, and that makes a big difference. But other than that, like just don't let anyone tell you that you cannot do something.
Absolutely.
That is probably the biggest thing. Like I said, if you want something, find your group. The right people will help you get there. That's what we're all supposed to be about, right? Like we're here because other women, you know, helped get us here. So it's our job to now continue that.
Correct.
So find your people and just don't let anyone tell you you can't do anything.
Yes, I love that. I love
Absolutely.
that.
And sometimes even, you know, a stranger may be, you know, how we say our people. I'll never forget riding in the engine, you know, sitting in the front seat, you know, I'm the DPOP, the driver, and I'll be at a stoplight and you see some random woman giving you the thumbs up.
Yes.
That is an
So
amazing,
awesome.
it sounds just so trivial,
Yeah.
but it's such it produces such an amazing feeling.
I love that. Or even like I'm like reaving an older lady out and they're just like, I can't believe 2 women are doing this. Like, my day, we wouldn't even, I'm like, yeah, the thumbs up and just that's a big thing.
It absolutely is. It gives, you know, it's the affirmation.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow, there's another woman, you know, giving me my props. And she sees me and I see her. And that is an amazing thing. And even, you know, I wish it was something that, you know, it was recognized 24/7. We know that is not always the case. That's why I think it's a good thing that we promote, you know, women empowerment, you know, uplifting each other as much and as often as we can. The world enough will try to knock you down.
Yeah, and I add to all of what you guys said, embrace your trials. You know, trials. When you obviously when you're going through trials, they're not fun most of the time. But there's always something to be learned from trials. There's always a way that we can grow from trials. It will.
It will build you up. It absolutely will.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that at the moment.
No.
Yes.
No.
You're trying to be like, I know this will make me stronger. I know. And then, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yes.
never
But
in the
it will
moment.
be, yeah.
Yes.
It will be. It
Yeah.
will be. Yes. So in your experience, where the department was 19 years ago to where it is now, is the culture different? Would you say?
Fire department culture across the U.S. is very hard to change. And I think once you become a little bit seasoned in the department, you start to recognize that. It definitely starts from the bottom up, I think. I think it starts with, us, who you are in your station, whether you're EMS, whether, you're fire, whether you're, at admin, and spreading positive culture day in and day out, going back to my consistency rant.
Yeah.
So is there a change? I would say the needle's moving in the positive direction. And I think slow progress is still good progress.
That it is.
Yes,
It is.
yes.
Yes. Yeah. Anything to add to that? I mean, I know you're just
I know.
entering the department.
I'm new. But yeah, I think like you said, it starts from the ground up. So it starts with, just coming in and doing your job. And you don't necessarily need to like fit in, but we want to be respected, right? Yeah. So showing up, doing your job. And by then, if you do your job, like you will earn some respect. And it's getting to know people. And, then once your group is like, oh, all right, they're cool. and that invites the door for more people to come in. And like you said, it's ground up, changing people's minds. I wish we didn't have to do that. I wish we walked in with like the same opportunity that the men get. But it's harder when you walk in. You got to prove yourself a little bit more. So I hope that changes at one point.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, definitely. I have two women here sitting next to me who have done the work and have definitely made a point to make their work speak for themselves. So I want to thank you all for being here today.
Thank
yes,
you.
Yes. All right. So thank you again, Lieutenant Lisa Desamore and Paramedic Amanda Lynch for joining me on Freedom from Fire. Don't forget to follow the PFD on social media to see more stories of amazing people in our department. To learn more about the PFD, including fire and life safety information, job opportunities, and how to request free smoke alarms, visit phila.gov/fire. And if you would like to keep up with our show, Freedom from Fire, look for us on Verizon Channel 36, Comcast Channel 56, and LaSalle TV's YouTube page. Also, check out Firemen's Hall Museum, located at 147 North 2nd Street, and meet with our museum curator, firefighter Brian Anderson. I would like to once again thank our guests for joining us today. I also would like to thank you for tuning in and watching. So until next time, remember, fire is everyone's fight. Stay safe and remain free from fire.